All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, Ship It Nation YouTube station? Back here, Sunday night football game, week 14, and hey, this is a pretty big one here. Chiefs looking less than optimal to make the playoffs. I'll just say that. Roughly about a 37% chance last I looked to make the playoffs here. Have a big game with Houston coming to Arrowhead Sunday night. Weather looks to be kind of crappy here. Kansas City, 3.5-point home favorites. 41.5 is the total. Pretty gross game here. We got some injuries to the offensive line for Kansas City, which could lead to Mahomes running like a headless chicken back there behind the line of scrimmage with this front seven for the Houston Texans. We'll do our best to break it all down here, Ham. Not one of the better games, but safe to say, I think the last 2 weeks, pretty close to nailed the nuts, and was right there. Zach Ertz did it again for me last Sunday against those Denver Broncos. That was nice to see. But what do you see here? Bring you in. Happy Sunday, man. How we doing?
Yeah, AFC playoffs start tonight. Loser leave town match, in essence, in my opinion. So one of these teams will not make the playoffs. Maybe both may not make the playoffs even if they win. And if this is a rematch of the actual playoffs, either last year or 2 years ago when that guy shoved the special teams coach coming off the field. So, yeah, it should be an interesting game. Both defenses, I think, have the upper hand in this game. Low scoring, as you alluded to. A, it's cold. B, got good defenses. That's why you got the 41-point total. Yeah, looking forward to breaking it all down. I don't expect many fireworks tonight, so we'll see where we can find an edge.
Yeah, we'll see where we can find an edge here for sure. And, yeah, two good defenses here, and that's going to be a talking point when we do get to the plays on the slate, especially in the flex. Not really sure how much defenses are going to come into play in the captain position, but at just 5,400 for the Texans D, 6K for the Chiefs D, you could potentially look there. Probably not something that I'm going to do here. Takes us right into the captain. Obviously, we're doing this Sunday morning around 8:30 Central Time in the Lord's time zone here. So ownership hasn't been really updated, but I would have to assume just based on these projections alone, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes as the chalk up top. No surprise in a must-win game where he's probably going to have to rely on his legs a little bit more as well. Rashee Rice, Nico Collins are going to be probably the three guys that command the most ownership up top, rightfully so, for a good reason. What do you see here from the captain position, Ham, that you're looking to go in on?
Yeah, it's it's the big boys up front. Let's just talk about them, and I'll just go by price. I mean, Rashee Rice, he's they're obviously their number one receiver. The thing I like about him too in this matchup is that Andy Reid, Mahomes, they're no idiots, right? They know they're going to have to get the ball out quick. Trey Smith, listed as doubtful, did miss last week. He's one of their best interior offensive linemen. So what that means, more quick, short throws, in my opinion, to Rashee Rice. And when Rashee Rice gets it, he can do a lot with it. So, if you're talking about a low-scoring game where he racks up, say, 10 catches, I think that's a great spot. I'm interested to hear your take on Mahomes. I don't necessarily love Mahomes in this matchup. You talked about that front seven. We saw what they did to Josh Allen a couple weeks ago. Now we have the elements. So, man, this Texans defense, they are for real, as we saw. And then C.J. Stroud, no interest in C.J. Stroud. I don't know if you have any interest in him up top. He's regressed pretty badly this year. That Chiefs defense is no slouch either. Got the elements. Got Spags out there dialing it up. And the last one I'll touch on is Travis Kelce. I think I do like Travis Kelce tonight. Very same vein as the reason I like Rashee Rice, but I get a $3,000 discount on him. Short, quick passes, has a red zone threat. I don't think they're going to be able to drop Mahomes back, 5-7 step drops and let him just chuck it deep. I think it's going to be short, intermediate routes. That's Travis Kelce's game.
No, I like a lot of what you talked about there. I'll start Rashee Rice. Probably my overall favorite captain. He does have the best touchdown prop on the slate at plus 125, even ahead of these running backs as well. And in a must-win game, you have to assume they're going to rely on him pretty heavily, as he has been relied on recently since he's been back. I mean, commanding just a ridiculous target share of 33% for the Chiefs there. Only Puka Nacua and JSN have a higher targets percentage there than Rashee Rice here. In a game that should be fairly competitive, and Mahomes should be under pressure at least. Looking at Mahomes' rushing prop, 23.5 rushing prop, which is basically right in line with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt for the exact same team. So Vegas also obviously going to think Mahomes is going to have to rely more on his legs. So I do like Mahomes up top. And I think going like a Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and like the kicker, like a Butker in the flex is an interesting way to play Patrick Mahomes and just say, yeah, Rashee Rice is most common guy that people are probably going to want to stack up with Mahomes, especially if they have him up top. Whereas I could see playing Rashee Rice up top and then be lower on him in the flex. Because if he gets all the way there at his price point compared to these other guys, I mean, he's $2,000 more expensive than a guy like Nico Collins, right? In a trail script on the road here where they could have to chuck the ball a lot more. Because we already know running backs against Kansas City is a tough feat. They've held guys like Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, etc. intact for minimal games. So the volume alone should lead to guys like Nico Collins being more heavily involved than Rashee Rice could be. But Rashee Rice's breakout could mean you need him up in the captain position and not as much in the flex there. So something like that. There's so many different ways to play Mahomes up top. Hard to really avoid him. So I will definitely be playing in line or slightly over the field with a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Rashee Rice I like up top more so than in the flex. Nico Collins I like a lot up top just because of volume alone. He does command the offense on that side, right? 31.2% target share in Stroud's first game back last week for a guy like Nico Collins. Again, like I talked about, the running game with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks has struggled in general. Now they go up against one of the best rush defenses in the NFL here. So I think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. I like Nico Collins a lot from the Houston side up top. And then I do like going down to a guy like Xavier Worthy, who can have that home run potential in a game where Mahomes could be under pressure more, right? And scrambling around with this front seven. You could see a guy like Xavier Worthy get behind the defense, and all it takes at that price point, 9,900 in the captain position is one of those down the field. And then whatever else he picks up is just bonus because it gets you on a different roster construction because he's 9,900 compared to 16.5 of Rice of his counterpart there. So in a build like that, I would probably fade Rice in the flex as well and just say, hey, Worthy connects. Then it's Mahomes, and then some of these more floor type guys, like the kickers, like the defenses that we're going to get into in the flex there. So I like that. Not really going to get much on these running backs, so I'm going to be pretty condensed. It's going to be Rice. It's going to be Mahomes. I like a little Kelce up there, and then Nico Collins and Worthy are kind of the guys I'm really looking at here. Not really too interested in many of these other guys up top. Not playing CJ Stroud. Not going to really mess with Woody Marks or Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt, I just don't love it with Pacheco back as well at 11-1 there against a tough front seven. I just don't see it for a guy like Kareem Hunt, even in a low-scoring game. Could he fall in the box twice? Yeah, absolutely he could, but I would rather take a shot at a guy like 9,900 Xavier Worthy over a guy like Kareem Hunt. So any final takes from the captain before we jump over and talk flex here, Ham?
Yeah, I think I'm with you on those running backs. I mean, it's just I know Woody Marks went out for a series or two, recorded last week against the Colts with an ankle, missed practice on Wednesday, but he is going to play. But they just split too much, and Chubb is quasi their goal line back. I think they kind of split carries down there, so no interest there. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to say this, Nades. I think it's Hunt's backfield now. I mean, he outsnapped Pacheco 2-1 last time. Pacheco slowly working his way back, and yeah, he's definitely the goal line back. If Hunt gets down there, I mean, I could see Hunt, like you said, like 32 yards and 2 touchdowns or something crazy like that. Final score like 14-10, and he's on the winner. But I don't love it. It's more of these high end guys. And then we'll talk about the kickers and defense later. I mean, I think if you're doing 150, I don't hate that. Just this Texans defense is just absolutely filthy, in my opinion, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, Kareem Hunt, you could definitely make a case to play him up top and just probably pair him with like the defense and Bucker in the flex, something like that, and just say that, hey, it's a Kareem Hunt, couple plunges, right? Maybe you go like a Kareem Hunt up top, Mahomes just for his floor and what he gets, spreading it around, a Bucker and maybe the defense or something like that. In a build like that, he has 18 rushing attempts in the last 4 weeks in the goal line, so he's definitely the goal line back there. The only other one to touch the ball in the goal line the last 4 weeks is Brashard Smith with 1 rushing attempt there. You jump over and look at Houston. Woody Marks has out-carried Nick Chubb in the red zone 16-4 in the last 4 weeks. Obviously, when you drop that down to the last 2 weeks, it's 9-4. So still a pretty wide split there. But Nick Chubb does have the lone rushing touchdown from both of these guys. So it's definitely Kareem Hunt's backfield for sure in the red zone. And it would probably take him to score twice at that price point, I would assume, to be the optimal captain guy to beat out these other guys, especially at that price, because, I mean, Travis Kelce, 13-2, and Kelce could get there alone on just volume across the middle, right? Especially if Mahomes is under pressure and just volume himself there in like 8-4, 80 type run, and he doesn't even get a touchdown. And in a low scoring game, like a 14-17 type game, something like that, which I kind of see how this game is going to go. That's kind of my inclination, right? That, hey, it's going to be an under game, goes under the total, going to be probably within a field goal type game, which the spread would kind of indicate here. That's kind of how I'm seeing this just with these defenses. So you could see a guy like Travis Kelce just volume himself his way there in the captain position, which can be the same case for Rashee Rice, right, with the value, but 16-5 compared to 13-2 does make a pretty big difference there. Let's jump over and talk the flex position here. You got Patrick Mahomes at 10-8, second highest priced guy behind his counterpart, Rashee Rice. And then you got CJ Stroud down at 9-4. Starting to get to a price point, right, that 9K range for these quarterbacks where it's pretty tough to avoid. Expect him to be a pretty popular flex play. I don't love it personally, but again, quarterback's hard to avoid. I'm probably playing at least one of these guys just in a low-scoring game. I'm going to take their floor points. Much more interest in Patrick Mahomes, as the field will as well. What do you see here between Mahomes and CJ Stroud in the flex in particular?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's Mahomes ahead of Stroud. I know we don't have ownership yet, but I'm with you that Mahomes is once again going to come in the most popular captain. To me, it's CJ Stroud in the flex only. I do not like him up top. Yeah, and you said it too, like 9-4 for CJ Stroud, a quarterback that has a little bit of rushing upside. He's been rushing a little bit more as of late. Now we know he's coming off his concussion, so maybe he might be scared to run. I think this is his second game back since he got knocked out for a few games. So Mahomes clearly ahead of CJ Stroud. The price shows that. The projection shows that. But it's CJ Stroud only in the flex for me. No captain CJ Stroud.
Yep, I'm with you there. Let's jump over and talk running backs here. Let me filter to the running back position. Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, and then Brashard Smith is kind of their Swiss Army knife, right? Their Jerick McKinnon type role in this Chiefs offense. In terms of the props are pretty gross on all of these guys. Woody Marks leads the slate in terms of rushing yards at 46.5. Kareem Hunt drops down to 34.5. Pacheco 27.5, and then Chubb is down at 16.5. And there is no rushing prop even on the board for a guy like Brashard Smith. But when you jump over to receiving, that's where some of the props do pop up for some of these guys. Overall, pretty gross, pretty brutal matchups on both sides, I would say, for the running backs here. My Hunt is probably my favorite, and then it'd probably be Nick Chubb with the discount, just because if Nick Chubb falls in the box at 3,400 there, I think that's good. But Nick Chubb at that price is going to have to outscore the defenses in that range, just because the defenses are 3,600 for the Texans. That could have, I mean, a pretty solid sack floor in general here. With Mahomes with a banged up offensive line. They've been one of the best defenses in the league in general. And then the Chiefs defense is at 4K on the other side, going against CJ Stroud, who we know can make mistakes in a Arrowhead, going to be kind of cold, kind of rainy, some precipitation potential as well. So what do you see here from the running back position? Woody Marks, most expensive, 8,400. Then Kareem Hunt, 7,400. And then it's a bunch of drop down to that defense range, basically in terms of salary.
Well, Nades, let me tell you a little secret. Last time I full faded running backs, all they did with Kyle Monunga and DeAndre Swift ran for 250. So I'm going right back to the well now. Full fading all 4 running backs. I'm not playing a running back in single entry or 3 max. You have 40, what'd you say, 47.5? Was that's just gross. I'm going to get there other ways, Nades. I think these running backs, pretty bad place tonight, in my opinion. I won't be having any of them in single entry or 3 max. And I don't think you need to either, but maybe you feel differently because you were the Swiss whisperer last time.
Yeah, it was a different spot for me, different game. I just saw an avenue to kind of exploit there. Not really the case here. I mean, you look at Kansas City, they're 4th best in the league against the running back position in general. And then you look at Houston, they're 11th overall. And we know Kareem Hunt really isn't explosive. We're going to take him pass interference right down at the 1, down at the 2, or inside the red zone, which they definitely could. And he could get there that way. But it's 7,400, pretty expensive price point to pay. And he's got a sub 10 projection. So he is going to be probably fairly low owned just with that projection alone. Obviously, things are going to change throughout the day here, and we're going to see ownership get adjusted as we get closer to lock. Again, we're about 11 hours away from kickoff here when we're doing this show. So for me, it's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are my 2 favorite running backs, if you want to call it favorite. But overall, the running back position is very gross, but everyone's going to see it that way. So I could see this as an avenue where this is your differentiator in tournaments. Again, especially if it's a low-scoring game, like I think it's going to be like a 17-14 type game or 16-13 or 14-10, something like that, right? You could see that lone touchdown come from one of these running backs, and you're probably going to need them if that's the case, if it's low-scoring, and there's just not a lot of volume on the other side from a pass game perspective. So I think it's a scary full fade position, but I get the reasoning. I just think there's going to be an avenue here to get different than the field, just because, especially at these projections and these price points, and in a low scoring game, if it is truly a low scoring game, which I think it's going to be, you could see a 1 touchdown from any of these guys be optimal. And if that's the case, I don't want to be stone dead because I full faded. The position is the only thing I'll say there. Let's jump over, talk receivers here. You got Rashee Rice all the way up at the top, obviously 11K. You got Nico Collins at 9,800. Obviously, those 2 lead the way in the receiver room, both really, really good plays in general. I prefer Rashee Rice more so in the captain position than I do in the flex. Nico Collins, I think, is fine in both. I still like Nico up top as well, but I'm more so willing to play a guy like Nico Collins in the flex here at the price point. And then you got these other guys, 6,600 Worthy, 5,800 Jaden Higgins, who runs majority of his routes on the outside, where Kansas City is very, very good at defending. So I personally don't like Jaden Higgins much. I would rather mess around with a guy like Christian Kirk, Jalen Noel at 1K, running his routes in the inside, right, in the slot there. So I think taking a shot at some of those guys is more my way I want to kind of approach this. But what do you see here from the wide receiver position? Another pretty gross spot in general.
Yeah, it really is. I like what you kind of said earlier with Nico. Nico's their bell cow, right? He's their best receiver. They have a lot of good receivers, a couple good rookies in there. Nico got 10 targets last week with CJ back under center. He's their best bet. These corners for Kansas City are pretty good as well, but I would have Nico as my favorite receiver outside of Rashee, obviously. So you are getting a discount with Nico, though. So it's those 2 really. This cold weather, I know you mentioned Worthy and or Hollywood earlier, just throwing deep. I mean, and I'll throw Thornton in there, as a dart throw. It's just going to be tough to throw bombs against this defense and with this weather. So I'm kind of out on those, or lower than maybe most on those 3, what I'll call, deep play guys. And then those other receivers on Houston, Nades, it just feels like wide receiver roulette, right? You got Higgins. I like Higgins. I like Kirk as a receiver. I like Hutchinson as a receiver. They're just all, sharing time at 50%. So when we start to build lineups, if one of those fits at the end, I think I'm okay with that. Kirk at 3,200 maybe stands out the most just because I think he's the cheapest. But it's Nico for me up top. It's Rashee for me up top in terms of the wide receivers. And then I'll just build accordingly to how much money I have left with the rest of them.
Yeah, no, I just think I'm on team Jalen Noel over Christian Kirk. They know what they have in Christian Kirk. No targets last week. Noel did only get one target, obviously, but he saw his route participation jump up to 42% following the bye and in that game there with CJ Stroud. So at the 1,000 price point, I'll just play him over a guy like Christian Kirk, in my opinion. So I like Noel a decent amount there at 1K. Is a value option on the slate. And then over on the other side for Kansas City, it's kind of tough with Hollywood Brown, Thornton, and Juju Smith-Schuster all kind of rotating around that 30 to 40% route share. Hollywood Brown leading the team there in terms of route participation. He is kind of a floor play, right? So you're kind of playing him for a floor, and at 5K, it feels kind of gross. He's going to probably have to get like a 5-450 and one type roll, right? Where he gets like that 16 type points, because if any of these kickers bang a 50-yarder or two, right? If they bang 2 50-yarders, that's 10 points right there. You're going to need that 5 for 50 from a guy like Hollywood Brown to just match the output of the kickers within the same range there. So I think that's an interesting talking point there. We can go down a whole tangent about kicker scoring in general, but when you look at other guys within the price range of the kickers, that's what you have to compare them to. 250-yarders, right? They're at 10 points. A kicker is, and it takes 5 for 50 to get to 10 points there for a receiver. So I think Hollywood Brown is the floor type play. I will say Tyquan Thornton, I get the weather and everything, but at 2,800, his average depth of target is over 42 yards. Right around 42 yards. All it takes is one play from him. So in Mahomes type captain builds, I don't mind throwing in a guy like Tyquan Thornton, because I would probably prefer to only use him in Mahomes captain builds. Again, he's probably going to hit other teams as well, but if he gets there, it's probably one catch down the sidelines for a touchdown. That would help Mahomes up top as well, and then the salary savings would help as well. And then you could just get floor plays like potentially a Travis Kelce, right, in the flex, Rashee Rice, if you wanted to, in the flex, where you just take their floors, you take the ceiling of Thornton down the sidelines, where he obviously blows away his median projection of that 1 to 2 points because he catches that 50-yard bomb for a touchdown, right? Get you that 10 plus points there at 2,800. Find himself on the optimal lineup there. So a guy like Tyquan Thornton is probably my third favorite receiver behind a guy like Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. We'll talk about Travis Kelce here when we get to the tight end position. I know Houston is very good against the tight end position here. I just think they're going to have to rely on Travis Kelce just with the way the pressure is going to happen. And you could just see a floor type performance here for Kelce, which could be enough. He is all the way up at 8,800. But again, we talked about I'm going to be under on a guy like Rashee Rice in the flex, just at that salary, over in the captain on him. It's going to lead me to more of these guys like a Travis Kelce in the flex here. Not a best matchup by any means, but again, heavily involved in this offense. What do you see here from the tight end position in general?
Yeah, you laid it all out there pretty well. It's Schultz and Kelce, right? I don't know if Noah Gray is back tonight, but I'm not getting cute with Noah Gray or Cade Stover or something like that at 1,600. But yeah, it's Kelce for me. I talked about it, and the captain, I really like Kelce tonight, just as short, quick passes. And then Schultz, how many targets did Schultz get last week? He got 8 targets, and they're short and quick as well. One person we didn't touch on, Nate's, in the wide receivers is newly single Braxton Berrios. Got dumped by his girlfriend, Alex Earl, runner-up in Dancing with the Stars fame. So maybe a little Braxton Berrios single narrative we got in those wide receiver streets. But yeah, it's Schultz and Kelce. Like both of them tonight. Really like Kelce. But yeah, I'll be playing both the tight ends, like them more than the receivers outside of Rice and Collins.
Yeah, I'm in on these tight ends too. I just think the way the game's going to go. I think they're going to feed more targets here, and Dalton Schultz feels a little underpriced. I mean, he's $5,400. I mean, he's right there within $400 of a guy like Jaden Higgins, who feels like a pretty boomer bust type option, especially in this offense against Spags defense on the outside here. So I like Dalton Schultz a lot at 5,400. He's probably my favorite play on the Texans outside of Nico Collins. I like him a ton. Love Travis Kelce at 8,800. I'm going to be in on both of these tight ends here. Noah Gray, Cade Stover are kind of fringe value options. I'd much rather play a guy like Jalen Noel down at 1K, personally myself, than miss with either of these guys down there. So I'll probably be even with the field or underweight on those guys. I don't see me getting to those guys much when I got Jalen Noel at 1K, who I think is a better play than both of them. And then let's jump over and talk kickers and defenses here to round us out. I think this is a good position on both sides. I really, really, really like the Texans defense at 3,600. I can see the Texans win this game personally. I'm not too impressed with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm very impressed with Texans defense. They're very, very good. $3,600 seems like a ridiculous price point on a defense that could have 5 sacks here tonight. I know it's tough. Mahomes doesn't make a ton of mistakes until he does. But this defense, I mean, 14-11, 18-8, 8, 14-9, 15. That's playing against Josh Allen. That's playing against Bo Nix, who doesn't take a lot of sacks. That's playing against Sam Darnold, who's lighting the league up. Playing against Baltimore, obviously, with no Lamar Jackson there. But, I mean, I think this could be a spot here where Texans defense could get 10 to 12, 10 to 15 points. And it's going to be pretty tough to beat that at 3,600 compared to these other fringe value options down there. Kansas City defense at 4K. Don't really like them much personally myself. But what do you see here? Kickers and defenses. I think that both kickers are really good. I like Fairbairn more. I like the Texans defense more than both the Chiefs side of things. So I think I'm going to be more on Houston special teams here than Kansas City special teams, just because I like the skill positions a little bit more from Kansas City. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes is going to lead me to getting a little bit different and probably playing Texans defense, even in Mahomes builds, I think is interesting. So I like Fairbairn and Texans a lot more than Butker and Chiefs. But what do you see here?
Yeah, I think this is one place we disagree, Nades. I like Butker over Fairbairn. Slightly projected, almost a point better than him. He's kicked in the elements before, so I like Butker a little head. And it's wild to me that the Chiefs are like projected like a point and a half higher than the Texans, because I'm with you. I think this Texans defense is dynamite. The Chiefs should get lower ownership. They're only $400 more. Their pass rush is lacking. Stone Cold Jones is pretty good at stuffing the run and crew, but I like both defenses. I think I'm going to fade Fairbairn and go for Butker, only $400 more there as well. So I think that's the one place we differ. But yeah, both these are dynamite plays. I actually think this game plays way under the posted total of 41. We saw the Colts and Chiefs play this same game 2 weeks ago, and it was, I think, ended up being like 24-20, something like that. I think that's something we can expect again. Chiefs came back late. It's going to be low scoring, grinded out type of game, in my opinion. So, yeah, kickers, great plays. Defense, in my opinion, great plays. I liked what you said, 10 to 15 for Houston. I think you could see that from both squads, but that's just my take.
Yeah, he's fading Fairbairn, who seems to have a floor of 10 DraftKings points here. So that feels pretty risky there. I'll die on my hill here of going Texans special teams over the Kansas City special teams here. I think Butker is obviously a good play as well. I'll be overweight on both the kickers here just because I think the game goes under, and I'll take their floor. I mean, 150 yarders, 5 points. I mean, give me that all day in a game like this. So I love both kickers. And the Texans defense, I'll probably be full fading the Chiefs defense, or definitely at worst or at best, matching the field there. Don't really like being overweight there, again, because I'll be overweight on the Texan side of things. That's everything. I think we talked through it pretty good here. I'm not going to be playing 5-1s on either side here, although I think you could play 5-1s. If I were to play 5-1s, I'd probably just rather play I never really play 5-1s, but what's your take on 5-1s here, Ham? I don't see tons of ownership going either way. I just think there's enough on both sides of this, especially with the defenses and the kickers, that I don't really want to get to a 5-1 build here. But any thoughts on that before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's more balanced builds for me. If 4-2, 3-3, 2-4, something like that. But it's more balanced than 5-1s tonight.
Yeah, tend to agree there. That's going to do it. Appreciate everyone tuning in here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Watching on replay helps us out a ton. If you're still not a member yet, not sure what you're waiting for, you still do have time to get in now and get that $167 package that goes through the rest of the football season and the college football bowl season as well. We'll have you covered there. No better rate in the industry than here at Ship It Nation. So jump in there. But again, down in the comment section, drop your score predictions, your favorite captains. We'll look back. If you do guess the score correctly with the right winner, we will give away a month of Ship It Nation with the starter optimizer, the $130 a month package there for one lucky viewer down in the comment section if you do get that right. For Ham, I'm Nades. Good luck tonight in those contests. Hope to see those Ship It Nation logos all the way up at the top of the leaderboards. We're out here. Peace.